There's a difference between AI and automation, right? Like AI and automation can work together really well. Automation is taking the repetitive tasks that you have and systematizing them so they happen automatically without you. AI can improve those tasks and make them better, but it's not the same thing to automate as it is to AIify. It's not even a word.
People are getting more and more integrated into their devices, social media now with AI. So what's also going to happen is that it's going to create a need on the other side for deeper human emotion, which I think you're also communicating a version of that. Deeper human connection.
I think people are going to crave more and more that human connection with a real human that they know is a real human. I think that's going to be like the thing that makes humans even more valuable is that you can get almost anything from an AI that you want. What you can't get is human connection.
AI can actually really accelerate your field of expertise and knowledge, but it can't magically make you, unless Neuralink becomes successful or a version of that, that it can just download all that information into you and you can ask those kind of questions.
Coaches Nation, welcome to another edition of the Coach's Journey podcast. Today's topic has been talked about in many industries, including coaching, and we're talking about AI. And our title today is, will AI make your coaching obsolete? Which is often a challenge in many industries. It's not just about coaching, it's about every industry, because we're getting a massive amount of disruption with AI today. So we're going to talk about that specifically when it comes to coaching. And I know Faisal is using AI and I'm using AI in probably in different ways. And we have perspectives to share. And maybe you're thinking along the same lines. Maybe we're going to share something that you didn't know. And we're going to talk about not only like what's happening with AI, what we know so far, but also maybe what you need to do as a coach, where you might need to focus so that you are less obsoletable as a coach. Granted, the future is unknown. We can't know everything. But what we can know today is all we can know today. So we're going to figure this out. All right, Faisal, you ready to talk about AI and coaching?
I am. I'm actually curious to hear your perspective because you've been experimenting with AI coaches and all kinds of stuff. I've been experimenting more from, I have actually used AI as a way to coach you, but probably not as extensively as you, I'm assuming. And also, I've used AI for marketing, for sales, for script analysis, for creating all kinds of stuff using AI, even trip planning, image generation, video generation. So pretty much in every part of my business, not only have I used it, I'm pushing my the people that are working with me, my team members, to use it to more and more. In fact, I actually fired a subcontractor in my company who wasn't willing to use as much AI because it just didn't make any sense. I was paying her a lot more to do the same job. And I'm like, well, why? Either you're producing more of the same thing or you're charging me less. Pick one. And I wasn't attached to either one. And they were just stuck in their own old ways. But I'm excited to talk about this and really I have some of the concerns as well from a business owner perspective. I have some of the concerns as well on the coaching industry side, but I'm also very hopeful towards this. And I think every new age or a new development, new technology does bring change. Change can be difficult sometimes, but it also brings all sorts of, historically has always brought other opportunities. And it really depends, are you taking advantage of the opportunities? Are you pivoting fast enough? Are you up to date as to what's actually happening in the world? Because those are the people that are going to stay ahead with the current versus kind of fall behind. So my question is more around how can we use AI to do our job better and innovate and evolve rather than kind of stay behind?
Yeah, and this is great because I've been using AI for all those things you're describing as well. And yeah, like you said, a little bit of coaching here and there too. And I think you can do a lot more with AI than you think if you're just new to AI. Not you, but anyone. Anybody can do a lot more with AI. I think most of the world is still using AI as like a glorified Google, like looking things up. And like, like I've done that many times today already. Like, hey, what was the thing that, I know this a little bit about, help me remember what that thing is. Or like, tell me about different ways I can find this information, or like just put it in like a Google search and it'll tell you what it thinks you're looking for. And it's surprising how good it is at figuring out what it thinks you're asking for. And it's also surprising how bad it is sometimes at doing that. But it's getting better and better at a lot of those things, and all those basic things that I used to Google things. I don't tend to Google nearly as much. I tend to go to AI a lot more because not only, well, even if you go to Google now, Google has like at the
Google
beginning,
has
it's
an
like all
AI.
AI results, right? And there's a reason they're doing that. They know that AI is disrupting their traditional business model. And probably one of the reasons they didn't do it sooner is because it's hard to disrupt yourself. It's really hard to disrupt yourself, but every business needs to think about how am I going to
And
disrupt
that's a
myself?
technology company. Just so
Yeah,
you
and
know, one
that's
of the biggest.
Google we're talking about, right? They're like on the cutting edge of a lot of things, but their entire business model is search. But when now AI can make search obsolete in a way, people aren't going to be searching as much. So I'm curious to see when ads get integrated into the AI results. It's only a matter of time, right? Because now I don't even scroll down and see their ads anymore um, on the search. I know that Google ads are more than just search. There's a lot of other parts of Google ads, but um, you know, even if Google is at risk because they got probably taken a little bit more by surprise, but they're playing catch up now, and their offerings are pretty good now as well. But overall, I think almost everybody can use AI at the very basic level, right? It's like Google search equivalent or better than Google search, right? And most people are doing that. There's almost nobody I've talked to. I can't think of a single person who hasn't tried AI in some format.
Yeah.
Try to think of somebody who's like, I'm not touching AI. No, pretty much everybody I talked to has tried it.
I'm actually surprised. This like a lot of people I know around me, they haven't, and I actually push them towards it. I've met like
They
business
haven't
owners.
tried it at all. They haven't seen
They
it
haven't tried
anywhere.
it. Well, they have seen it, but they haven't experimented with it themselves. They've heard it about it, but they haven't taken it. And it usually takes like, oh, let me show you what it can do, and I will actually
Yeah,
go
I
there.
do that all the time with people.
Let's try this out. They're like, it's like the best reaction. You're like, what?
Okay, well, when you say tried it, you mean get an account and have conversations with it, you mean?
Yeah.
I just mean like, the Google searches and stuff. Like everybody's tried something to see AI
Yeah,
in
of
action,
course, because
right?
it's embedded in every
Yeah,
tech
because
now.
now it's everywhere and you're seeing it all the time. Like even in WhatsApp, there's a whole meta AI like conversation
Yeah.
you can have, and sometimes I don't use that, but every now and then I accidentally type into that chat a random term and then it'll give me a search that I didn't ask for.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, it's starting to get embedded everywhere. And the reason is AI is very, very powerful. It can take large amounts of data and synthesize it into a concise version of what you're asking for. It can take a large amount um, of of disparate points and weave them together somehow. So AI can be pretty powerful. I think from what I've seen, it's gotten a lot better over the years. I was gonna say years. It's not been that many years that people have been using it en masse.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe we can pivot the conversation towards what does that mean for the coaching industry,
Yeah.
and what's AI really good at, and is the coaching industry gonna get replaced by AI? Is it gonna get augmented by AI? If we're gonna stay in this industry, if for those who are looking at it as a long-term path, what does that mean for them? What would that look
Yeah.
like in the future? And so maybe we can break that down a little bit and then go to the specifics of, well, what does that mean for coaches?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to some of the things that coaches today are doing in your sessions, and even out of your sessions. A lot of the things you're doing today could be, impacted by AI. For example, like if you're doing basic level, what do you call it? Communication. Like here is, your next session's upcoming. That stuff is all already automatable without AI. It's going to get even better with AI. So you can use AI to automate tasks and those kinds of things in your coaching business. Because your business isn't just you coaching. There's a lot of things around your business, right? You got to do marketing potentially. You got to do sales potentially. And of course you could outsource some of this stuff. A lot of this work will get easier and faster with AI. So if you're not going to leverage AI in those parts of your business, it's going to take you longer to do the things you want to do compared to a coach with all of the things being equal. So I think on the business side, if you're not using AI as a coach right now, you're potentially going much, much slower than you could be going for developing your business. That's on one side. We also want to talk, of course, about the coaching aspect itself, but that's a pretty big part of a coaching business, which is the business side of it, right?
Yeah. And I was talking to one of the coaches in our community when AI was becoming more famous. I think it was a year and a half ago, something like that. He's a younger guy and he was using it a lot more. He was designing sessions. He was thinking through topics. He was kind of working with AI to move his, like creating frameworks. And he came to the session. He was kind of feeling a little bit guilty. He's like, is this ethical to do? And we
In
had
what
actually a
sense? What do you
really,
mean ethical?
it's like he has access to this powerful tool. What if somebody else doesn't? I'm like, that's the real thing, is like, is it an equalizer or not? And the key is that it's available to everybody at this point, or most people, at least if they have access to internet. They have now, whether or not people use it is a whole other story. Now it's becoming more and more compared to now. Think about it. A few years ago, I remember I talked to a few business owners in my community, and we were talking about social media. And social media was a pretty big thing, right? But a lot of businesses didn't even have social media for the longest time. But there was a point where I remember a couple of years before that time, I would be like, I would be pushing the, hey, you got to use social media, it's important. But they were using like normal flyer ads, those kind of things. In fact, a lot of their marketing budget, which was like 5,000, 10,000, they were actually using physical flyers and those kind of things. They barely had any
With
social
no
media.
social media presence.
No social media, but it took them like years before now they're hiring like these marketers, and they have like social media accounts. Naturally became a very dominant thing, but it took a while. But AI's development has been really fast. It's like, I think it's like at least 10 times faster than what social media and internet
Oh, easily, if not
was.
100 times.
And so now the speed by which it's happening, that's the thing that's alarming, even for people who developed AI. It's alarming that
Yeah.
it's happening so fast.
And
And
it's
so AI,
changing daily. Like things that are happening daily are
yeah.
changing the landscape of AI too.
And we don't know, like for example, the other day, so if anybody has experimented with creating images and chat GPT,
Oh yeah.
especially if there's writing in it, it was horrible at it.
Oh, ChatGPT just came out with the
I know,
way
that's what
better
so
image
I
generator. It's so good now.
now it's an image generator. It can actually keep adjusting the writing. You can give it an image, it can embed it as a, I was experimenting with that. I'm still doing it. It takes a little bit longer. It also came up with another feature, deep research. I'm thinking about using that for my brand. It was brilliant. But every day there's a new development. So understanding that, one, AI is developing really fast. Nobody really knows what's happening, but we know that it's really good at certain things, like repetitive tasks. Like if you in your business, like Daniel was saying, if there's anything that's repetitive, ask yourself, can AI replace that in a predictable way?
Well, there's a difference between AI and automation, right? Like AI and automation can work together really well. Automation
Mhm.
is taking the repetitive tasks that you have and systematizing them so they happen automatically without you. AI can improve those tasks and make them better, but it's not the same thing to automate as it is to AIify. It's not even a word.
So I'm referring to AIify. So what
Yeah.
are the things? For example, you might be thinking about a training that you do every week. You can actually use AI to brainstorm a
Right.
bunch of topics, create actually a schedule for you, and do all sorts of stuff. And then the second step might be is, can you use an AI automation to move that forward? But that might be a little bit advanced. But even just as a starting point, making it so if you're a coach, you want to put yourself out there, for example, market what you're doing, put yourself out there, talk about your business. If you're like, I don't know what to talk about, that's the most ridiculous. You go to AI, start having a conversation with it, and tell it to, can you act as an expert marketer or expert coach who's in this industry, and this is the specialization. These are the type of clients I want to reach out to. Or even if you don't know about the clients, this is what I want to communicate. Can you give me a list of topics that I can talk about? Great. It'll pull out a list of it. Like, can you give me a framework for each of these topics? It'll give you frameworks. Can you tell me how I would communicate? What are the stories behind it? You can go into as much details as
Yes.
possible. You
There's a
will not
huge
be
amount of
done.
rabbit hole here. Like there's a huge amount of, and this is both the blessing and the curse, right?
Yeah.
The where the rubber hit meets the road is AI can tell you whatever you want it to tell you, but can you show up and deliver that with confidence and feel and appear to other people and be perceived as authentic doing that,
Yeah.
right? And even if you don't, you might still be able to make a difference, you know. But you know, anybody can do that now. So I do think ultimately, Faisal, you're saying, is this an equalizer? I think it really is an equalizer. And the challenge with an equalizer is the people who had unfair advantages might now have been equalized a little bit. So if you didn't feel you had the unfair advantage, now you have similar advantages to a lot of people that you wanted to have advantages like. So AI can be really useful for content generation. And what Faisal, you just gave a little tip, which is act as. You tell the AI what you want it to be, for you, and you can tell it, be a coach, because that's what we're talking about today. You can tell it to be a
Yeah.
coach, and it can do that. Now, it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily know you that well, so it might not give you the answers that you actually need, but it can move you forward. I've done that with AI.
Yeah.
Like, help me through this question, and I have enough experience that I know how to direct the AI to direct me. Like, even when somebody's coaching me, I can tell them, like, let's not go there. I think it'll be better if you coach me here. With a human, I do that too, which is like direct the AI into how to best coach you. Most people don't have the ability to interact on that level at the same time as being coached, and it's hard. It's not necessarily easy, but you can help the AI or the human that's coaching you coach you better.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right into this question of like, can AI replace coaches? And I think my initial guess is probably a lot of aspects of coaching could be replaced. Especially a lot of the
Can you be
basic stuff.
specific?
What's that?
Like specific? Can
Like
you
the
be
basic
specific?
stuff, like accountability. Like,
Oh,
some people will just need that question, did you do the thing? AI could do that for you. Some people actually need more than that. Some people need a human on the other end to make sure that they have to show up for somebody. That external necessity, that works for really well for me, is like having somebody that I have to show up to. But there's some aspects of my life that like AI can just be my reminder. So if you're a coach and your job is to just remind people of the things they're supposed to do, that is probably not going to be an effective place to prevent AI from taking over that, right? Like, there's
yeah.
going to be all kinds of productivity systems that AI can help you with, help you remember things. Like, I don't think that is like really a great place, because it's very commoditizable, right? Like, just being a standard basic accountability, coach, might, like, in like, hey, what'd you do last week? All right, what are you gonna do next week? That kind of stuff might not be as valuable if you have AI available to do that
So
for you.
accountability coaching is not here to stay for humans,
That's what I think.
basically.
There's probably some aspects of it that are, like I was saying, like, some people actually having that human, like, AI can give you accountability, but if you don't care about disappointing the AI, then it's not gonna have an effect as much as
Yeah.
it could if you do care about disappointing the human, right? But I think just being acknowledging that, like, that kind of coaching might not be enough, because a lot of people can get accountability differently.
Yeah.
And this is a theory. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens,
Right.
right?
So if you're doing like if you're coaching is a lot like your client shows up, hey, did you do the thing? And then they didn't do the thing, and you kind of go on to motivate them to do the thing. You might think about, okay, can I get AI to do, or can I move my coaching away from that? And we'll talk about where you could move it towards, what that would look like. I would also add, like, there are other things like straightforward coaching, like giving frameworks and models and teaching certain things. People can get that from AI much faster than you could give them. In fact, half the time I'm telling my clients, hey, let's work, go search this in ChatGPT or AI and create a. I kind of leave that part of the session for the client, and I'll check in with them. Did you do it? It's interesting how good AI is compared to me in creating a better model for certain things. And we'll talk about, like, some of the deeper insights might be harder for AI to do, more customized insight. But like basic things like, hey, here's a system for productivity. Like, you can create a thing, calendar of reminders, or you can set up you can create a morning routine that can actually use AI to create a better morning routine than you could teach them. Based on
Right.
their situation, they can take a lot. You can get the AI to think about it from multiple different expertise to give them a better, more customized morning routine than you could ever give them. You
Mm-hmm.
only have one expertise.
Yeah,
Or
but
at
then
least.
again, even if that's the case, I think is one place where it's not clear yet whether AI could take this role on. But it's like when the rubber meets the road, like when you actually need to transform, when you like transform over time. I think AI can help you transform, absolutely. Um, but I read this quote earlier this morning, and it was something like, uh, the nervous system needs to feel safe before
Mhm.
you can actually change, right? And
Yeah.
so, can AI help us do that? Maybe. I think there's some evidence that yes, people feel safer with AI in some ways. There's some evidence that no, people are not safer with AIs, and I think it's contextual. There's plenty
So
of,
so do
I
you,
was
by safety, do you mean trust?
emotional safety and trust. Yep.
Okay. So how would AI create emotional safety and trust?
Well, if you trust the AI to take you through something, like, I think a lot of people have just like some implicit trust in AI, like
So
question.
they have informational trust with AI because it has data. But
Exactly.
are we
Exactly.
talking about
Well, I
that kind
guess
of trust?
let me clarify. Like, so I was reading an article about people and relationships with AI. So there's plenty of websites out there, and there's some more common ones that people are actually engaging in literal relationships with AI. That
Mhm.
they're having like
Is
they
it like AI influencers?
no, just random people. There's actually
Okay.
like entire support groups dedicated to people who are having like AI, like dating their AI, or like they
Yeah.
create a chat GPT persona or something. There's just a
Right.
recent article about this. Was it? I can't remember. It was New York Post or New York Times or
Yeah.
something. New York something had an article about somebody who had done this, and they were talking about all the people that are doing this. And so one of the challenges they have is the context window in AI. Like you only have so much time before the AI starts to forget stuff at the beginning of the conversation. And so in this
Mhm.
example, they were having this like really amazing relationship with AI that was being like a supportive encourager of them and like helping them with problems in their life and whatnot, like just basic level stuff that I think a lot of people today are going to need that kind of
It,
like
is
input.
this text or video, audio?
It
What
was
is it?
primarily text from my understanding.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
and so my theory is that people will be able to form quote trusting, emotionally charged relationships with their AI, even though it's them projecting things onto an AI that may or may not actually be there.
Yeah.
And it's unclear like how AI.
So they're anthropomorphizing AI,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's some research that might suggest that maybe there's some human like things going on within AI as it gets more complex, and the jury's still out on that. But my point is, people can anthropomorphize AI and trust it as a result,
Yeah. We do
right?
that with pets. We don't know what pets feel a lot of times. We don't know, and they're closer to us than AI is. But we anthropomorphize a lot of our pets. We'll give it like we'll have conversations. Maybe at an emotional level it can get us, but we don't know what the hell the pet feels.
Exactly. So why would that stop with AI? I don't. From what I've seen and what I'm seeing, I don't think people are going to stop because
Yeah.
AI is inanimate or theoretically
Yeah.
inanimate, right? I don't think we're going to stop that human tendency to anthropomorphize.
Yeah. And at some point when you add robotics to that and you're adding these robotics that have human faces and it can mimic a certain level of human facial changes,
Yes. Yeah.
we're
That's
projecting
already
it's
happening.
becomes more, yeah.
That's already the technology is there to do video, and a lot of these like dating websites are actually creating video avatars of their AI companion, and it's
Okay.
actually pretty. It's pretty. It's not that advanced. Like if the technology exists for AI to be able to interact with you on text,
Yeah.
you just take that and you apply it into a video model that speaks for you. Lots of influencers are creating those anyway for their own content, so you can interact with them as a video, and then it's only a matter of time until you just turn that into a robot. It's like I was thinking to myself, like, you know what, the android from Star Trek Data, like you could actually today we have all the technology to actually build him exactly as he was, program him with all of his actual episodes, and he would actually be like really, really consistent with the actual
But this
android.
is a really good segue. So if you know the story of Data in Star Trek, he's a humanoid AI, robot with AI built into it, and his whole quest in that whole show for I think a lot of episodes was emotion. It's like he didn't know how to make sense of a
That's
human
right.
experience, and his whole quest was to go and figuring that out. And I think a lot of the edge of coaching might be in that emotional intelligence, spiritual space, holding space. Those kind of areas might be much more dominated by humans and deeper personalized insights. And so before you start thinking, okay, I'm dropping this career, and we want to explore a little bit of that. What are your thoughts about those areas? Emotional intelligence, holding space, voice, tonality, human expressions. Even though we can project a lot, but it's a human experience is still very different. A deeper human experience is very different than having it with a robot. Now, I don't know what that's going to be in the future, but at least at this point, a lot of creative stuff, a lot of human emotional stuff, holding space stuff, having deeper conversations that can lead towards deeper insights, I think that's still the realm of humans so far, at least in my experience. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that will always be a realm of humans. I think AI can certainly play in those areas even today to some degree, because AI can simulate a lot. I think AI can simulate the emotional experience. I think it could. You just program it with sufficiently complex model enough, it could make you think that it's feeling things. It already does that today. We have emojis. As an example, somebody puts an emoji, it totally changes how you think about the sentence. Imagine a video avatar that could just put on its own emoji, but it's so complex that you don't realize it's actually just an emoji, or you don't realize that it's like not actually feeling the thing. And there's some debates whether it actually will one day feel. But
so think about it in your deeper coaching, like in the context of deeper coaching sessions you've had. Could it do that?
I don't know. I don't think yet. I think today it's it's not clear, and I think I'm leaning towards no for the foreseeable future. But just because today it's not possible, I don't think that in the future it's going to be impossible for an AI to simulate some of the things. But I don't think that you're going to be able to create that same level of human connection, because I think that's one of the things that's going to be missing in this AI world. We're going to have all these AIs that we're interacting with, and we don't know if they're real or not. We don't know who's a human online, who's not a human online. We're already starting to see that challenge in terms of like what's in a written form. And I think people are going to crave more and more that human connection with a real human that they know is a real human. I think that's going to be like the thing that makes humans even more valuable, is that you can get almost anything from an AI that you want. What you can't get is human connection, like true human connection. Yeah. And I think that is going to become more and more valuable. That's why I'm not super worried about coaching, because I think people need that human connection. And also there's as much as AI can understand complex data, there's a complexity and navigation of human emotions and situations that, like, I think humans need to be part of, especially from an ethical perspective. Like, can you trust your AI to be perfectly ethical? Well, maybe not. Who programmed that AI? What data was it based on? Like, there's a lot of challenges with how you could be influenced by AI without you even knowing. And the better AI gets at this stuff, the less human it can get, the harder it is to differentiate. So I think people will want to keep those human connections with each other.
Yeah, and kind of it makes the argument as well that the more, I mean, we've seen that pattern in the social media world. People are becoming more and more embedded, like integrated to social media. It was somebody asked Elon Musk this question. He's like, well, he was talking about what is his company with the brain chip?
Neuralink.
Neuralink. He was talking about Neuralink, and the interviewer asked this question. He's like, well, isn't that dangerous? And he posed a question. He's like, where's your phone? He asked him, how much time do you spend away from your phone? And then it was a good question to ask. And I thought about it. I'm like, I don't spend a lot of time away from my phone. I have to be very intentional to do that. But for most people, they're fully integrated with their phone in a sense.
It's like a second brain.
It's like and he literally called it that. He's like, it's a second brain. And when he was talking about Neuralink, he's like, that will become your third brain if we are able to do that, whatever that looks like. The point I'm trying to make is that people are getting more and more integrated into their devices, social media now with AI. So what's also going to happen is that it's going to create a need on the other side for deeper human emotion, which I think you're also communicating a version of that, deeper human connection. And because it's in our families, because it's in our social gatherings, we don't realize what the actual effect of that is in our day-to-day life. Mm-hmm. Because it's much more complex than we used to understand. We are starting to see the value of it because we're losing it now. And I think the more people go towards there, I think it's gonna, on the other side, it's gonna create more of a need for it. And another analogy will be is like there's a huge revival of spirituality out in the Western world. Why did that happen? Because the past few decades have been a push towards consumerism and surface stuff. So there's a collective need happen for spiritual stuff. So what happened? There's a new age spirituality that came from all the older traditions. So people thought that, all the older religions and traditions and everything disappeared. No, they didn't. They just came back in a different way. Even when you look at like the new movies like Marvel and all these kinds, what are the themes that are coming up? The themes are very religious in nature. They're very spiritual in nature. All those are kind of coming back. And Carl Jung used to say that, it's like there's nothing that there's no culture that will ever die. and he kind of connected it to, he was talking about the native cultures. And he was saying that if it is in our unconscious, in the human consciousness, it will come back when the need is there. No cultures that have ever been created by human beings will ever truly die, because it's part of our consciousness.
I mean,
It's
their
part of
effects
our genetic
continue on, right? In some ways, right?
it will continue on in some ways, and a lot of these things I think come back in a different way. And I think especially within, at least in my coaching sessions and my practice, I see that there's more and more of a need for a deeper connection. There's more and more of a need for a deeper spiritual experience. There's more and more of a need for a deeper purpose for people, because people are starting to lose their identity. They're starting to not see their value out in the world. They're starting to question and doubt whether or not, for example, God exists, because there are a lot of things that are making them question that. People are starting to experience like everything is coming together, different cultures, different people at a very high rate. So it's creating a lot of, now imagine different cultures thinking differently about God, existence, intelligence, so many things. People don't know how to make sense of these things. The only people who could in the past make sense of them, or like people who have thought about it for a huge portion of their life. Now average people are having to answer the questions of existential dilemmas, their significance, their value, their connection, and the future of their family, all kinds of stuff. If they go to AI, it will give some surface answers, but it might not be able to get them to really have another kind of experience around it. And I think that's still the realm of humans.
Yeah, yes, and yes. I think AI will be able to help you make sense of those things, right? I think it will be able to, you will be able to say like, hey, take this thing with things I used to do manually, like take this religion's tenet and this religion's tenets. I can't reconcile them, and it'll help me do that. AI can do that much more quickly than I used to ever be able to.
But you would have to have the skill set to even ask that kind of question.
But yeah, that's right. But you have to be a little bit more conscious about what am I asking? And this is the thing about prompting with AI today, and what will be promptless AI in the future. It's like it's all about the question, right? You know, it was somebody, I think it was Einstein, said like give me, you know, a problem, and I'll spend 90% of my time thinking about how to phrase the problem before I actually spend my 10% solving it. And I'm finding that with prompt, the better I get at prompting, the more time I'm spending on creating these great prompts so that I get what I need from the AI. So what I think is going to happen in the future, especially with coaching, people are going to need help interacting with AI. I think like we're going to have a hybrid, you know, coaching world where like you're going to have like some AI coaches in some areas, you're going to have human coaches in some areas, and the best situation will be like both working together, but learning how to help people adapt to AI as part of whatever it is that you do is a big question. Learning how to integrate AI tools, systems, and value into your own coaching will be a really big important part of all coaches' businesses in the future. Like I think it's gonna matter, right? Like one of the things I do with my clients right now, and I tell them up front, hey, I use AI tools to help you in your coaching program. And so I can take the transcript of a coaching session and run it through various AI prompts. And so the other day I was working with somebody, this used to be this is something that may eventually go away in my coaching, which is like, hey, they're working on hiring somebody. It's like, okay, here's the job description. We've been talking about this job description for 2 or 3 sessions. And then they went away and created their job description. They used AI to create a bit of it too. And then I said, okay, watch this. So they came in the next session. I'm like, we need to make progress on this. Let's take your 3 transcripts from your last session, load it up into AI, and say, hey, AI, look at these 3 sessions and extract anything related to the job description, and then put it together in a summary format. So it was able to do that, right? It took those 3 sessions to, here's all the stuff you've been talking about. And I said, take that summary and merge it with the written job description that they had created, and create a new job description that combines everything we've talked about. And let me know where you got each piece from, whether it's from the transcripts or from the draft. And so they put together and told me for every line which draft it was, and I did it in front of them, and they took that and they were able to use it. So like it was like it moved them forward much more quickly. But part of what I'm doing is I'm showing them how to leverage AI to help them get at the answers that they don't need to spend my time with, right? Like like right now it's still valuable to them. I'll do whatever is valuable to the client, right? And whatever helps them move forward and transform. And sometimes it's like getting different ways to use the tools. And this person is actually pretty good with AI now. And they were pretty good, but they never saw that use case. So part of the challenge is like, for me, I'm thinking about like, where will AI be part of what I do, and where will it be a supplement to what I do, and where will it be absolutely not part of what I do? Right?
Yeah. And the part that I want to add to that, and I agree, like there are a lot of things that you can do. The only objection I have is that for like there are certain things. For example, I was the question of religion. I actually was getting different scholars to argue with each other using Chat
You can
GPT.
do
So I was
that.
getting him to,
Totally. I love that.
and it actually shortcut 1 year of research within a couple of weeks. It was just, I was blown away, and it was giving me sources. I was going back and forth with it and trying to make sense of it. But I actually had to have enough knowledge to even ask the questions like that. I can't see anybody else who doesn't have. So you would have to understand that to begin with to ask those kind of questions.
Yeah.
So those are complex questions. So you would have to be, for example, a philosopher to ask those kind of questions from AI to accelerate your thing. So AI can actually really accelerate your field of expertise and knowledge, but it can't magically make you, unless Neuralink becomes successful or a version of that, that it can just download all that information into you and you can ask those kind of questions. But that's on the mental front. But a lot of my sessions, the more and more I've done this, the more I'm going towards, okay, what is the edge of intuition for most people? What is the edge of emotions, how they experience their interactions in their day-to-day life, the relationships that they're building, their sense of purpose, how they connect to their bigger mission and purpose? Like those things are deeply emotional. At least so far, I don't see an AI in a video session walking people through that and both sides feeling that and actually navigating that journey. I think that's going to take a little bit of time if AI
It
takes
will.
over. And I
It
agree with you
will.
that at some point they will get, like, they work with each other. And I have a feeling that the world of coaching, the industry of coaching and therapy and all this stuff might come together, because things like it might be the field of how do we help people move forward, or how
Yeah.
do we help people remove resistance in their life to do the things that matter to them. In fact, it might be a collective question we need to answer, because if you look at it this is one of the things I've suspected in the past few years. I think governments can stop making people work for a long time. I think we have enough robotics and enough AI systems at this point for 80% of the jobs to go away. I think on purpose, they're probably not, because they don't know what to do with people. That's my theory. I don't think they know what to, because as soon as you take away the things they're busy with that are useful, what the hell are people going to do with themselves? Now,
There's
you
been
might
some
say they're going to
experiments about that. There's been some experiments about that. Like people, so there's been researchers who go into like there was a I can't remember which country it was, but they have this place um where they have like I want to say 50,000 people who are not in any kind of status, but they're just in this country. I cannot remember. I read this recently, and they had some researchers go in, and basically they were being provided all their needs by the American Red Cross. And so there was like everybody paid exactly the same amount of money, and there was no like you didn't have to do any work. And so it was
right.
talking about like what happened to that economy, and there still was an economy. People had desires,
Oh,
people had things that they wanted. So like for us to go from a capitalist world, economy market model to a place where nobody has any need to do anything, there's a lot of chaos that happens through that process. But eventually, I think if that were to happen, if AI like eventually took away all our work, people would still want things. People would still want things, and people would still want connection, and people would still want to like progress their life somehow. I think
yeah. I suspect that too, but that is a scary experiment for
it
one.
is.
And that's a very interesting experiment for a second. And then we're talking from 50,000 to billions of people.
Yeah,
The complexity of
chaos.
that is very, and we actually, a lot of experts are very scared of those kind of experiments. This is why they're scared of bringing back communism, for example, because they saw some of the effects of that. This is why they're like, capitalism is not the best thing, but it's the best thing we got.
So
And
far,
so far, but we could create better models, better approaches. But like these are questions at a bigger scale people are asking. But in for coaches, I think it's still, I think really good coaching, deeper coaching is still applicable. You don't need to drop the thing, but be up to date on what's happening in the world. It's not just for people in technology industry anymore. This is for everybody.
Yeah, if I had to
um
suggest anything, I would say you got to learn about AI. Like
yeah,
if you've been resisting AI, you got to get on the bandwagon, start learning about AI, learn about the different tools, start using it, use it in your business, use it in your life, see what you can get out of it, and keep pushing the envelope there, and get good at like better prompting, because it's about how you think about the questions that matter. And I think even in a world where like there's no everybody's making the same basic income level, people are still going to want connection, and people are still going to want guidance and leadership, right? I think especially in that world, it's going to be a lot harder for many people, right? So
yeah.
I think make sure you have AI as a part of your tool set. Makes you better as a coach. Make sure you develop your own coaching skill set still. It's not all about AI. AI is a part of it. It's just another thing you need to learn. Just like learn the internet once upon a time, you got to learn AI. And I think if you can make your coaching more human in nature and less task oriented in nature, you can do really well to increase the value of it. Right? If your coaching is very task oriented, it might not be as effective in the future world. Right?
Yeah.
And if you have struggles with empathy, that's good for you as a coach to build. Like building empathy, really intuition type work, super important for all coaches, I think, today, to be able to like create that. And this is the thing that AI can't do today, which is create that sacred container, that sacred space where you and this other person are in there together, and then there's an energy transfer. Even virtually, there's an energy transfer here, and that's what that's what people are going to feel from you. And being somebody who's been there, who's done that emotional work, is going to help other people do the emotional work too.
Yeah, for sure. Completely agree. And we'd love to hear from you as well. What are your thoughts about AI? Have you been experimenting with it? What are the results that you're getting on whatever part of the business that you're using? Are you concerned about this? Are you hopeful about this? To be honest, personally, I'm hopeful. I have my concerns, but personally, I'm more hopeful than not. In fact, I'm going to an event next month for a coaching event. And mostly it's related to coaching. It's not even about AI or business. It's more related to the deeper coaching experience. And I'm doubling down on the human side of things for a reason, and I picked that event specifically for that. And so we'd love to hear your perspective on this. What does that mean for the future of the industry, you think? What does that mean for you? How does that change your long-term and short-term planning? We'd love to hear from you, and so we can all learn from each other. Please comment below. Make sure you share this with other coaches who might be concerned or hopeful.
I love that. You can double down on human coaching while also doubling down on learning AI, right?
Yeah.
It's a both and, it's not an either or right now. So I would say encourage you to do both.
For sure. Agreed.
And if you want to learn more about Coaching Mastery Community, which is the sponsor of this podcast, that's where we double down on the human elements to help you move forward in your coaching business, because it's not an easy business. It can be simple, but not easy, because there's a lot of emotional layers to building a coaching business. And we will help you with AI too. Be sure to go to cmc.coach or subscribe to our podcast or leave a comment below and get involved, get engaged in the conversation. And we would be excited to support you as a coach.
Sure. We'll see you next week. Bye.